buy a business that is going to be around for 100 or 200 years. That's interwoven with the American economy in a way that if the American economy prospers, the business will prosper. It is the most efficient way of moving goods in the country. It's the most environmentally friendly way of moving goods, and both those things are going to be very important. But the biggest thing is the United States is going to do well. I mean, we can't move the railroad to China or India. At least I haven't figured out how to do that. So it it's a little like the Rivers of that song about New York. We have to make it here, or we can't make it anywhere.
Well, Frank Sinatra.
But it does move 400 and it moves a ton of goods 470 miles on 1 gallon of diesel. It replaces a train replaces 280 trucks on the road, and it emits far less into the atmosphere that's damaging than trucking. And it moves 40%. When I'm talking about the whole rail industry, it moves 40% of the goods plus.
And you have new port of entries like Houston that will bring in a lot of goods through the Panama Canal.
And we're going to have more people in this country, and they're going to be using more goods over time. And sure, there's a bad year from time to time. And in the next 100 years, there'll probably be 15 bad years, and I don't know what order they'll appear. But I also know the railroads will be essential to the country.
Now, when you called Charlie Munger and said, I'm thinking about this, did he say, right on, Warren, or did he say, how about this?
Well, if Charlie said right on, Warren, I figured I had the wrong number. No, I mean, that would be the wrong number.
It's not the likely response.
That might be my wife or but Charlie gave it kind of a low-level grumble, and that is real endorsement from Charlie.
But I mean, he also pointed out, it is said that there was this was a regulated industry.
Sure.
This was an industry that was capital intensive.
Very capital intensive.
This was an industry.
You spend money.
It was unionized.
It was unionized. You spend money in this business regularly, every day. You're spending a lot of money, repair track or add rolling stock, whatever it may be. So it's capital intensive, and it is regulated, and it will continue to be regulated. It will continue to be capital intensive. I think that what the service provided by railroads is so important in many ways. I mean, it's the right way to move goods around the country to the extent that you can do it, and it's far more attractive in terms of global warming than using trucks, for example. So it will be here, and if we get a reasonable return on the added capital investment, because it'll take added capital investment, we'll do okay. And
reasonable return's good enough?
Reasonable return's good enough, Charlie. I mean, 50 years ago I was looking for spectacular returns, but I can't get them. I mean, we have $8 or $10 billion to invest every year, and we're in the utility business, and it's the same thing there. I mean, when we build electric generation or something of the sort, we shouldn't expect a spectacular return. We're building things that are essential to society, and people need our services. They really don't have any choice in the case of the electric utilities, for example, and sometimes in case of rail. And we should get a decent return on that. I mean, it's enough to encourage us to keep putting money into the business, but we're not entitled to spectacular returns.
You carry coal.
Well, that's a big one in terms of tonnage. Yeah. Very big.
And if in fact we wean ourselves off coal, is that a big problem?
Well, we will wean ourselves off coal over time, but we can't change the 40% of electric generation that comes from coal. We can't change that next week or next month or next year, but we will reduce it over time, and we should reduce it over time.
And you can add other things to carry, and changes will be.
There will be more grain to move, and there'll be more of all kinds of chemicals or whatever it may be. There will be more things moving around this country 10 or 20 or 30 years from now.
Knowing your idea about moats, is it a pleasing idea that no one is likely to get into the railroad business?
Well, if they wanted to reproduce the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, it might take $100 billion or so, and
100 billion years.
They'd have to be a real sport.
Yeah. And they also are modernized today, are they not?
Enormously, enormously. The railroads, take a railroad like BNSF, they're moving far more ton miles of product with less in the way of people, less in the way of fuel. Railroads have become far more efficient over the years. There were 1.5 million people employed in the rail industry after World War II. Now there are about less than 200,000 in the United States, and they're moving far more goods. So it's really become efficient. You watch those 130-unit trains double stacked.
You had other railroad companies in your portfolio.
Right.
You're selling them?
I've already sold them, yeah. I've done that just to facilitate the transaction. I think they're good